everyone, my name's Taylor Tryon.
And I'm Chris Schrader.
And we are SOF Industries. SOF stands for Seeds of Freedom. We are a Tulsa-based firearms accessory manufacturing company. And today we're really excited to bring to you a revolutionary new product, the Advanced Ironsight Module, or AIM for short. As we begin our demonstration today, I want to make sure that we keep safety as paramount, right? So, for all of you that were in the military, you're going to know treat, never, keep very well, right? Treat every weapon as if it were loaded. Never point a weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. Keep your fingers straight and off the trigger until you're ready to fire, and keep your weapon on safe until you intend to fire. And then the unwritten rule is know your target and what lies beyond and in between. Today we're going to be utilizing the Glock 19 profile in our demonstration. Of course, with the Glock, you do not have a mechanical safety. The trigger is your safety, and we will not be conducting any live fire today, so knowing your target is not a necessary thing. However, we do want to make sure that everybody is aware all of these weapons have been cleared, and we will be keeping the magazine out as we conduct this demonstration. With every great product comes a great origin story. So today I'm going to have my business partner, Chris Schrader, Vice President of SOF Industries and also the Director of Marketing and Sales, talk a little bit about that origin story. So take it away, Chris.
All right. Yeah, so the very beginning, I've got a grandmother who was sold a Kimber 380, and the gun store employee, who knew better, I'm sure, sold her the handgun without going through the cycle of operations first with her to make sure she could do everything confidently. So she calls me and I go over and she says, "Hey, I got a new handgun, need you to help me look, show me how to use it." And so I go over, and it's quickly discovered she cannot rack the slide back, which is important. And so I was carrying a brand new P365 XL with the red dot. At the time, that was a very popular handgun, still is. And the thought entered my brain, she could utilize the red dot as a mechanical advantage of sorts to rack the slide back on her handgun. And she could. It helped. And so as a result, she confidently started carrying that pistol. I traded it to her. It was the most one-sided trade in my history of trading firearms, but I was happy that grandmother was taken care of. Well, fast forward about a year later, about a year and a half later, and she's had to brandish it 3 times where she works over on the north side of town. And I know for a fact that she was carrying those days because she was confident in her ability to do everything that she needed to do with that handgun, everything from loading and making ready, with her severe arthritis that she had in her hands. And so, man, it's just, ever since that day, I've been thinking, what exists in the market? I want that handgun back. And nothing exists in the market. There's a handful of what they would call rack assist devices, and I wasn't impressed with any of them. Neither was she. We were talking about this problem, and it just kind of flowed with the conversation. I drew out on a sticky note what I had in my mind, and it looked not good. And Taylor's our engineer. He does all of the product designing on his software, and he's got a CNC machining background and an engineering background, and so he makes the magic happen, and I'm the idea guy. And so I kind of explained to him over the phone the idea, drew it out on a sticky note, and sent it over to him, and he did his engineering thing. I mean, it is beautiful in my opinion. I absolutely love the way this thing looks. And he kind of made it what it is. And so, we've got a beautiful product for you, and I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, so, Chris just elaborated on that phone conversation where, we were starting with a rack assist. And to this day, I still remember it. We drew it on a sticky note, and then I put it into CAD, and it looked like Pac-Man. Yeah. And I remember talking with you about that, and it's like, I don't think this is where we want it to be. So we definitely went through many iterations on the geometry to get it to where it ergonomically fit with your hands and your fingers, and it just felt right, also looking good. But in the process of doing that, we both discussed like, hey, what if we made this multi-purpose? We were thinking, for everyday carry, where most engagements are going to happen at the 10 yards and in, kind of distance, an open sight concept makes a lot of sense. So one of the key considerations when we were going through the different design iterations of this rear sight aperture were optimizing target acquisition speed. And one of the ways that we went about accomplishing that is attempting to take the natural inherent angles of the human body, these 45-degree angles at the shoulders and the 35-degree angles at the pelvic girdle, and apply them to a rear sight aperture. And you'll see that in the Diamond of Death reticle, where you have these 45 and 35-degree lines that present a diamond pattern. And what that does is whenever you are engaging and you are presenting against the target, it superimposes onto that man-sized target or that man profiled target in a way that almost, we call it the brain hack. Yeah. It almost hacks your brain into the target while keeping full field of view. And I think that's very important. With a lot of other sighting systems, specifically red dot optics, you get a lot of tunnel vision whenever you are presenting towards the target. And with the AIM, that's not the case. You maintain full periphery, full field of view, while also being hacked into the target. And because there's no glass and because there's no dot that you're having to kind of line up in the sight picture, the sight picture and sight alignment presents itself almost instantaneously. For you guys out there that run red dots, you'll know what I'm talking about here. We call it finding the dot, right? Where when you present, you're having to get that dot perfectly, and that's why we train so hard on having the exact same punch out every single time, because we have to have consistency in order to get that dot to fall into the sight window exactly the same way every single time. For somebody who's not able to go out there and shoot thousands and thousands of rounds, this is a problem, because when seconds count, you don't want to have to be looking for the dot in order to engage. That is where the AIM comes into play. It immediately presents itself as a sight picture without the need for finagling the weapon to get that front sight post into the Diamond of Death reticle. And we truly believe that this is a sighting solution that bridges the gap between your more traditional iron sights and more advanced red dot optics. So Chris, why don't you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So you've got a segment of the gun community out there that are iron sight loyalists. They cite a myriad of reasons, whether from there's points of failure that are in red dots that they don't want to have to worry about, and they think it's a roll of the dice on having on their weapon. Or you've got those who have just trained with irons. They're proficient with irons. That's what they know. And so, the jump to a red dot seems a little bit intimidating and maybe fruitless because they are just proficient with their irons. And then you've got those with the red dot, that are in the red dot community, if you will, who train with their red dots and are very fast with their red dots and very accurate at distance with their red dots. And so, but you've only got these two binary options, iron sight or red dot optic. Both have advantages, right? Depending on what side of the spectrum you're on. If you look at electronics and you go, hey, every advantage is what I'm game for, but you've got those out there that stick to the irons because they look at the electronics and the glass and all that as a potential liability. And so the beautiful thing about what Taylor and I have created is it kind of bridges the gap. So if you're an iron sight guy, well, that's what this is. It's an iron sight, but it's got the angles and a very familiar form, similar to a red dot. And like I joke, the sacred geometry this guy tapped into, I don't know, like that's why I give credit to him because this thing, it just works. It works well. It's a square peg out there, and your brain goes square peg, square hole. And that's the angles of this, how it's chamfered on the sides, on the where the shoulders of the human body are, and the forward-leaning angles. And there ends up being actual science that validates why this works so well. And this guy articulates it better than I can. But man, it's just it is the third option. It is the bridger of the gap between iron sight and red dot.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the AIM in the context of it being a very usable sighting solution, but now I want to transition into talking a little bit about the mechanical advantages that it provides to the operator. So originally, whenever we were designing this concept, that was kind of first in our heads is, hey, let's provide something that is functional, but also allows for a mechanical advantage to the end user to be able to manipulate the weapon under duress. One of the things that comes to mind when you think about this is like the extended charging handle on an AR-15. That is a relatively new concept that gained wide acceptance in all of the firearms communities very quickly because of the ergonomic advantages that it provides, and it just gives the user increased dexterity. Whenever you're under high duress situations and adrenaline is involved and Murphy is involved, you need to have all the advantages that you have available to you. So yes, the AIM, is a mechanical advantage that allows you, either using the palm of your hand or using your finger and treating this almost as an extended charging handle, gives you positive control of the weapon and allows you to easily manipulate it during immediate and remedial actions. A perfect example that I can give is a reload. So when we're conducting a reload, we'll drop that magazine, we'll insert that next magazine to begin to engage and simply send it forward. And that provides a lot of simplicity in the way that we conduct our reloads. Now, moving further along into immediate and remedial actions, a lot of times we'll have a misfire, we may have a failure to feed, we may have a stovepipe, there's all sorts of things. Murphy will always present itself in the worst of situations. And when that occurs, we need to be able to adeptly manipulate the weapon quick and effectively. So this is going to provide you that mechanical advantage or assist to be able to conduct those sorts of things. So we've got a lot of footage showing this, and we will continue to highlight that as one of the key features of the AIM throughout our time here. Another really cool feature associated with the AIM, and really specific to the Glock profile as well, a lot of people buy Glocks because of their ease of disassembly. But I'm sure all of you who own Glocks have struggled with the side releases here.
Don't ask the ATF director.
Oh, well, yeah, he wouldn't know.
It's not easy for him.
But the AIM really does help in this regard a lot. I'm going to show clear and aim in a safe direction. So disassembly procedures for a Glock is to go ahead and engage the trigger. And now I'm going to be able to use my hand to come in and karate chop the slide, and all in just one smooth motion, disassemble the weapon very, very simply. A lot of people struggle with that when they're having to hold down on these detents and also grip the slide hard enough to be able to engage that. But with the AIM, no problem at all. So there are plenty of other advantages that are inherent to this system. And Chris, I wanted you to kind of step in here and talk a little bit about some of the defensive, especially in really high stress situations, advantages that the AIM provides.
Sure. So some of the feedback that we've received from law enforcement professionals that we've shown this to is they love the fact that due to the ergonomic advantage, the mechanical advantage inherent within the AIM, if they've got an assailant on top of them and they choose to draw their weapon to fire into the assailant, one of the issues you could run into is if the assailant is leaning into your weapon or you're pressing into the assailant, your weapon into the assailant, you can actually move your weapon out of battery and nothing will happen when you squeeze the trigger. And so one of the awesome things about this is all you have to do to prevent that type of a horror story from happening is place your thumb up. Just move your thumb up from your grip up onto the back of the aim. And just hold and squeeze. And so that pressure is enough to prevent the weapon from coming out of battery, enabling you to discharge your firearm in that high stress situation. And so also, you know, another ancillary benefit that we uncovered while we were having a little stupid fun assassinating pumpkins is if you've got a suppressor on your handgun and you need to take a very quiet shot, typically the quietest shot with a handgun you can take is if the slide is immobilized, so that there's no sound of the springs and the reciprocation and the gases that will come out and exit through the you know, the ejection port. All you got to do is the same thing. Put your thumb behind it and squeeze. There's a few other benefits to this thing in regards to folks with disabilities and impairments, and I'll hand it off to Taylor to discuss those features and benefits.
Certainly. Yeah. So one of the key considerations, you know, Chris earlier talked a little bit about the origin story of the AIM, and with his grandmother, you know, she had severe arthritis in her hands that kind of prevented her from being able to manipulate the weapon effectively. You know, that is not isolated to your grandmother. There are plenty of, you know, law-abiding gun owners out there that have disabilities, and it makes it very, very difficult for them to utilize specifically a pistol. In fact, when we start talking about pistols, you know, the pistol brace, you know, for a, you know, AR-15 style weapon was actually developed for those veterans and other individuals who have disabilities, specifically amputees, people that do not have the use of their offhand. And so it's no different whenever we talk about the inherent advantages with AIM. One of the tactical considerations that we will discuss a lot is a situation where you're in a close quarters engagement and you go to fire the weapon and nothing happens, whether that be a misfire or a lot of individuals out there carry without one in the chamber. That's known as carrying condition 3. And for whatever reason, in a high stress situation, you may forget that you don't have one in the chamber. And so you will go to present the weapon and pull the trigger, nothing will happen. In a high stress environment, with an assailant coming down on you, the first thing that you're going to need to do is protect your life. And you're going to need to do that by blocking said assailant. Well, now you no longer have access to that offhand. This is where the AIM really starts to set itself apart from the competition in the ability to blade your body, defend yourself from the assailant, but then using your belt, a table, or any other medium to chamber that next round and get back into the fight. So from a tactical perspective or from an everyday carry perspective, this is a massive advantage to the end user that is able to literally leverage that mechanical assist. But again, going back to those with disabilities and people that have arthritis or weak grip strength or whatever the case may be, you now, without the need for your offhand, have the capability of racking the weapon off of any surface. I mean, you can use your buddy if you want to. And so I think that there is a lot of functionality inherent to that. And it's just something that you're going to end up using a lot in your day-to-day carry.
We wanted to make a point to support America, American engineering, made in America. So everything about this product was sourced and created here in America. American materials with American labor on American machines. And so I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Taylor. He's going to discuss about the materials, the coatings, and just elaborate on that. So go ahead, Taylor, take it all away.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, and just like Chris said, you know, we're obviously an America first company. founded in faith, family, and freedom, right? So we made a point to make sure that everything about the AIM was by America, sourced in America, and manufactured in America, and assembled, because it's going to be assembled by you, the American patriot, back at home. So what we have here in terms of product specs is this is made out of an 8620 alloy steel that has been stress relieved or annealed, if you will. Once that's done, it is then machined on CNC machines to its final form factor. And then once that's completed, we actually apply a ion gas nitride, and we bring the hardness of the material up from 5 Rockwell C, which is pretty soft and malleable, to a 46 Rockwell C, which is very hard and durable and corrosion resistant. What that allows for, especially since you're doing a lot of weapon manipulations with this, where you're putting a pretty big bending moment on this dovetail feature, what that allows is for hardness on the outside that is allowed to take a beating, but some soft, mushy center, if you will, on the inside to give it some malleability such that when you are doing high stressed and fast weapons manipulations, you won't have any stress propagations or cracking, things of that nature. So that was one of the first considerations that we took was, doing that surface conversion with an ion gas nitride and getting it up to hardness. We then finished this off with a high temp Cerakote that is applied here in Tulsa. In fact, you mentioned all made in America. All of this is actually made within a 10-mile radius. So it is, locally grown and ready to go. But yeah, so we apply that Cerakote to the outside of this. And that provides a couple thousandths of pillowing, if you will, that provides corrosion resistance, as well as a very nice look that is very congruent with the look of the slide of the firearm. We also have provided a high-vis paint to the rear so that you are very easily able to identify and utilize the Diamond of Death reticle, as well as the V-notch and dot profile that's inherent to the bottom of the AIM, which sits at the exact same height as a standard iron sight. Something just like you would see on your stock Glock. It's the exact same height and the exact same profile of that, just in a V-notch and dot pattern as opposed to a castle pattern like you see here on the Glock. So a little bit of background about me. I'm a U.S. Marine. I had the opportunity to utilize a lot of these weapon systems in training and in deployment scenarios. And so that kind of gives me some of the insight into what makes sense from an operator's perspective. But I also have the luxury of being a degreed engineer. And so with that and my mechanical engineering background, I was able to leverage a lot of the knowledge base that I have attained over the course of my degree of study to kind of pour that into this product. So for the longest time, I was wondering why I was jumping around from job to job, but it all makes sense now between the Marine Corps, my engineering background, and then now my time in manufacturing. It really has just kind of coalesced and allowed us to present one of the best products out there, in our opinion. All right, so we've talked a lot about, different features of the AIM today. Again, we want to emphasize the fact that this was designed with the everyday carry, everyday shooter in mind. So with that, kind of contextualizing our design parameters, we really wanted to make the AIM as simple to install and as easy to use as possible. So one of the things that we are very, very proud of is the fact that the AIM just installs directly into the stock dovetail on the rear of the weapon slide. There's absolutely no modification necessary in order to install this. It just requires either a sight pusher tool or a punch to be able to install that. And then there's just a simple set screw that cinches up that dovetail and makes sure that you don't get any movement. And other than that, you are basically ready to go in terms of installation. So we try to keep it as simple as possible there. Another key consideration in the design, and something that is very, very important when it comes to sight picture, is your front sight post. So there's tons of different flavors of front sight posts out there. I've got a Glock with an iron sight on it right here that has the stock front sight post at a standard height. you can certainly utilize that. And in fact, with the V-notch and dot profile at the bottom of the aim that is at the same height as a standard rear iron, you can actually bury that front sight post into that V-notch pattern and achieve the same, accuracy, resolution, and the same reliability that your standard iron sight provides. However, we have found through product testing and just through comfortability of what it looks like to the eye, that leveraging a suppressor height front sight post with either tritium or some other illumination mechanism, this one is fiber optic, for example, it presents what we like to say is the analog red dot solution. Once you get that front sight post centered up in the diamond of death, it is just exceptionally fast. Minor caveat here, so we certainly tinkered around with a lot of different front sight options. In this case, we're actually utilizing a Dawson Precision fiber optic red front sight post at suppressor height. Specifically, the aim and the reference lines that are inherent to the design are designed for a 300 height version of that front sight post. It just falls into the window at the correct height such that these horizontal reference lines are perfectly lined up with the top deck of the front sight post at that height configuration. Again, the operator can tinker around with different widths, different serration profiles. This one in particular that we recommend, like I said, is a 300 height, 125 wide, ramped and serrated profile. It just works extremely well. And again, like we've been talking about a lot, it presents itself immediately whenever you present the target.
To purchase the aim, head over to sofindustries.com. Link is in the description. This is the Iron Sight Perfected. Thanks for watching.